I'm Chef Sarah Glover. I wrote an adventure cookbook especially for you and your kids, and this book takes you on an incredible journey, and it's all about adventuring and cooking with your kids in the great outdoors. I want to show you one of my favorite recipes, and this is the fire salad. It is really easy to make, and I cook it on a regular basis. What we're going to be doing is basically hanging vegetables on the fire. So I've got some beetroot here. You want to make sure that when you're selecting your vegetables for this, that you keep all of the leaves and the stalks on your veggies, because we need this to be able to hang them on the fire. So what you guys are going to need is some butcher's twine. You want to make sure that your twine is not covered in any form of plastic coating, because that's just going to melt over the fire. So we're going to cut up some bits of string about so big, that's about 1 meter, maybe a bit more. And all you're going to do is get your vegetable and you're going to tie off your string around the stalk of the veggie. Just be mindful that you want to make sure it gets nice and tight, because as this cooks on the fire and the heat basically absorbs, like takes the moisture out of what you're cooking, it's going to shrink a little bit. So this is looking pretty good to me. We want to make sure that our vegetables like facing down towards the fire. And like I said, just make sure it's tied off nice and tight. If your kids are helping, maybe just double check their knots on this. This is a little fun exercise that you can do with your kids and teach them how to tie a knot. I've also got some carrots here. Again, make sure the stalks are kept on them. When you're at the farmers markets or at your local farm stand, make sure you ask what's in season. Other vegetables that could be really good to cook on the fire could include things like you can do some spring onions. You could also do some fennel bulbs. Any kind of root vegetable that grows under the ground is really great for this recipe. Also, Brussels sprouts, you can sometimes get them on the big stalks. You could hang them over the fire. And you're probably thinking, Sarah, why am I going to be hanging my vegetables on the fire to cook them? And the reason being is that it's going to give you a really lovely smoky flavor to your salad. It's also fun, it looks really pretty. But the radiant heat is going to cook your vegetables, and you'll be surprised at how delicious these turn out, and they still stay quite al dente, and that means that they have a little bit of a bite to them. So they're not going to go too soggy if you don't overcook them, which we do not want to overcook them, because this is going to be in a salad. So when you've tied up all your vegetables, what you're wanting to do is have a little pot of extra virgin olive oil, and we're just going to cover our veggie in some oil. I just do it in a pot because it's easier. You're not going to waste too much extra virgin olive oil. Again, this is fun to do with your kids. They can get their hands dirty. Kids love to get messy. And then we're going to get some sea salt. And I'm just going to give this a little bit of a sprinkle. This is going to be flavor for our veggies. Now you can just hang them straight like this over our fire behind us by just tying it around whatever your apparatus is. Another really handy little thing to have in your kitchen, in your outdoor fire toolkit, are these S-hooks, and they're butcher's hooks. So this is what a lot of the butchers use to hang all of their meat. I have so many of them, and they're really, really handy to have, like I said, in your outdoor fire toolkit. The idea is the root vegetables tend to be more starchy, so they cook really well over the fire. And then all we're going to do at the top here is we're just going to do a little like loop. So we just loop it like so, and then we're just going to wrap it around our finger and create another loop, and then we come up in and under and just pull it through. And that way we've got a little hanging hook. And the beauty of this is that it just makes it easier to move it around the fire as it starts to cook down, because obviously the most intense heat is going to be in through the center of our fire here. So our beetroots are going to take a little longer to cook over our carrots, so we might need to move things around. If you don't have like a incredible setup like this in your backyard, like most of you probably don't, you can also use a tripod. The other fun thing to do is even, you know, with your kids, go foraging for some sticks and build a tripod yourself. It's really not that hard. And you'll find your kids will love this little exercise. And the fun thing about doing it this way too with your kids is they're gonna wanna try it because they're gonna be curious to know what this actually tastes like. So perhaps this is a good way to get your kids to eat some vegetables. Now I've had my fire burning down for probably 2 to 3 hours now. You only really need to have it going for an hour. You just don't want to be cooking with like a very strong flame. You want it to be a little more like of a radiant heat. Now don't throw away this extra virgin olive oil either because you can use this for your salad dressing. All right, so this is going to take about an hour for this to cook like this. A thing to just be mindful of is when you're trying to like figure out how hot your fire is, if you hold your hand above the fire and you feel like you're burning or you're cooking yourself, you know your vegetable's going to cook. That's how you always tell, is just use your hands. Things to also be mindful of, if it's a really windy day, it's going to blow the heat out from underneath whatever you're cooking and it will take a little bit longer. So always be mindful that if it was a little bit windy, whereas today the wind tends to be coming from behind, you would maybe move your root, like the beetroot towards the front, like towards this side, so it's going to capture most of that heat, and then whatever it is that you're trying to cook a little bit slower, you would then move it to the back where the wind is hitting it first. It just takes practice. You just have to give it a go. So we have the absolute pleasure of being able to go and pick our own greens for the salad, and what I found was some broad bean leaves. Yes, you can eat the broad bean leaves. I also found a few snow pea shoots and also a little bit of hydroponic mesclun lettuce. I'm going to go give this a wash, and we are going to take our carrots and beetroots off the fire. We're going to finish off our fire salad. All right, so this is the fun part. This is when we get to pull down our vegetables off the fire, and the way you know that they're cooked is they just start to like soften up and shrivel a little bit. We're just going to chop that little carrot off here, and it's not a very complicated job. We're just going to slice him up. I like to go lengthways on mine and just do them in kind of like pretty slices, because we're going to arrange our salad, which is always the fun part. So I'm going to pull down a couple of my beetroot. You can see the beetroot is like charred on the end and it started to get nice and soft here. So I'm going to slice down through him. Now I leave my skin on. You can take it off as well if you want to. If it's soft enough, it should just come off by itself. And again, the way you cut up your vegetables is really up to you. You can get as creative as you want to. You can do discs, you can do little wedges. It really doesn't matter. Oops, carrot down. So I'm just gonna start to decorate my plate. We're gonna arrange our greens on here. Again, this is so fun to do with your kiddos at home. And another fun thing you can do with this recipe if you are traveling is learn how to actually identify and forage for some of your own greens. Broad bean leaves, obviously it's only in the springtime that you typically get these. You can also go to your local farmer's market and get a nice variety of mixed lettuce leaves. You can do something like radicchio. You want to try and stay away from it being too bitter though, and try and like add that sort of sweetness that you're going to get from your greens. A few beans here. Slice them around our salad. Again, this is such a fun thing to do with your kids. It also teaches them about all the different types of greens and vegetables. Like I said, they might be inspired to eat some of this themselves. Then you're just going to decorate your plate with your roasted smoked veggies. This is just an example of how you can just pull the skin off. Your beetroot will just like start to come off really easy. Okay, and then I've made a little dressing here that's just got some balsamic and some extra virgin olive oil. I'm just going to I've actually used a strawberry balsamic today, but you can just use like a balsamic vinaigrette as well. And then you're going to season it with some sea salt. And I've got some goat's cheese here, which is like a hard rinds goat's cheese. We're just gonna shave that over the top of it. That's gonna add a nice salty, creamy flavor to your smoked vegetable salad. Here we go. I don't really want to eat it because it looks too pretty. But this is just such a fun recipe that you can try at home on your next camping trip or in your backyard over the fire pit. It's a winner. It will hold really well. You can keep it for the next day if there are any leftovers, and I guarantee your kids are going to want to try eating these veggies. So thanks so much for joining, and don't forget to give it a little thumbs up, ring the little bell at the top so you know when I've got some next amazing recipes for you, and please leave me some comments below, even comments of things that you would like to see me cook, or adventures you'd like me to go on, or any tips and tricks that you would love to learn. I would love to hear from you guys. Thanks for joining.